I'm David Sandberg. My wife, Dina Mardell, and I are the two new owners of Porter Square Books in Porter Square in Cambridge. Neither one of us knew anything about running a bookstore before we got here about a month and a half ago. But we've been incredibly lucky because the entire staff of the bookstore, which is phenomenal, and the owners of the bookstore from whom we bought it are still around. 3 of the 4 previous owners are still around, and the whole staff is still here. And so the bookstore continues to run pretty much exactly as it did before. I'd say most people aren't even aware that many people who had heard that it was being sold have come in and say, has the sale happened yet? And we say, actually, it did. So clearly we've been successful in our first goal, which was not to break anything as soon as we showed up. And we've been learning a tremendous amount from everybody else here. I think the thing that was surprising to both of us that we learned right away is how much there was that we didn't know. Because I think from the customer's perspective, because we had been longtime customers of the bookstore before we got here in our current role, there's so much that as a customer you don't realize how complicated a business it is. You just think there's books and you go and find them. But many of the staff, I'd say probably half or close to half of the people who work here have worked here since the bookstore opened 9 years ago. Incredibly talented booksellers, as well as in jobs that people out in the front buying books never see, like people who do things like receiving the millions of boxes of books that come in all the time, or processing returns when we have to send books back. But for us, it's not only been a learning experience, it's been incredibly fun. I think while on the one hand I would say that neither one of us had any idea before this came up of running a bookstore, owning a bookstore, as soon as we did find out about the possibility of owning this one, it was clear to us immediately that it was a great idea and we should have thought of it a long time ago. We were very lucky in that of, I think, a fair number of people who were interested in this bookstore, the people who were selling it chose us to sell it to. I think that they were very conscious of the fact that they had created a real community place, and they wanted to make sure that the people that were taking it over from them had the same kind of sense of community that we did. My wife and I are both long-time Cambridge residents. Our kids have gone through the public schools here. We've been involved in a million organizations in Cambridge and Somerville, a lot of nonprofits relating to the arts and education. And so I think that was one of the reasons why it seemed to the previous owners that we were a good choice to take it over. And certainly since we've been here, one of the most fun things has been the parade of people that we know throughout Cambridge who are always coming through the store and either knowing that we bought the store and coming to say hello and congratulate us, or not knowing that we bought the store, being regular customers and coming in and saying, "Oh my God, that's you who bought it? How fantastic!" So for us, it's just been absolutely delightful. We're both working our heads off and loving every minute of it. Our children also think it's the greatest thing. They're so excited, both for us and for themselves, because they both think it's incredibly cool to have your parents own a bookstore. Sort of what are the challenges so far? Frankly, we haven't really come across any, because the store does already runs, and it runs well, and so we've taken over stewardship of it. But all the hard things that had to be done have been done by the people who came before us, and we just have to keep running it and do a good job. We're, of course, looking at everything that the store does, and sometimes we come up with ideas to do things differently, and we run those by our shall we say, predecessors, but we really still see them as our partners, the 3 of the 4 previous owners that are still around. And so we really are making decisions about the store as a group of 5, not just the 2 of us. And we see some things that we say, why is this way? Would it make sense to think about doing it another way? Sometimes those things are things that are visible to the customer that are out in the store. Sometimes they're things that are in the back and customers never see. But for the most part, we're really spending most of our time trying to learn the store the book business. Another really delightful thing has been the extent to which the independent bookstore community we've discovered to be a very tight-knit and close community. There are stores, within a couple of miles of here that, contrary to what you might expect, we and they don't see each other as competitors, but rather we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to do the same thing, which is to run a successful bookstore in the face of a lot of challenges. And so there's really a lot of camaraderie among independent bookstore owners, not competitiveness, I would say, at all. I think one of the things we think about a lot is how do we compete more effectively in the areas where independent bookstores are having a harder time with Amazon. And one of the obvious ones is electronic books. I think that there is a platform that exists called Kobo that is run by all the independent bookstores, and it's a way to do ebooks. And I think bookstores in general, not just ours, have to do a better job of getting the word out to our customers that you can not only buy physical paper books here from Porter Square, but you can buy electronic books as well. And again, I think that's a challenge for all bookstores as the e-book market grows and grows. We have decided that we're going to, in order to sort of more formally introduce ourselves to the customer base of the bookstore, we're going to have an event here in October, on the 13th of October, a Sunday, called Porter Square Books, A New Chapter, where we'll have a bunch of events. There'll be a trivia contest, a literary trivia contest, bookmark decorating for kids. We'll have some refreshments, and hopefully that'll be a chance for people to come on over here that haven't met us already, or even that have, and say hello, and so we can get to know the bookstore community even better.